My name is Aiko Ongodia. I'm the founder and CEO of Zenu.
My name is Hilda Mora. I'm the CEO and founder of Pezesha.
My name is Keiro Muhoya. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Fingo Africa.
My name is Mina Shahid, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Numida.
My name is Tesh Mbabu, co-founder and CEO at MarketForce.
The best experience is just taking an idea and turning it into a reality against all feedback from the experts in the industry. So when we started Numida, we met with many banks and microfinance institutions. They all told us this is impossible because they were very used to doing things in one particular way. And I think our presentation of how do you solve financial inclusion for micro and small businesses was so far-fetched that they said it would be impossible. And 8 years later, we're still around, we're thriving, and we've done something that now bankers and traditional people in finance are coming to us and saying, how can we work with you?
My best experience so far has been just really seeing the impact we've been able to create as Pezesha, now 7 years in, helping small businesses in Kenya and Uganda. Now more than 400,000 SME loans that we have financed through our platform.
The best experience really was onboarding our first customers. So we built this fantastic platform to provide professional investment guidance to tech savvy millennials, Gen Zs. At least that was what was in our head. Our first customer actually turned out to be a 57-year-old lady that was worried that she hadn't put aside enough money to finance her 20 years or so in retirement. So just that was a surprising best experience for us. And 6 years down the road, we still have that lady as a customer.
My worst experience was right after we did Y Combinator in the summer of 2021. We had just raised a couple $1 million and promised all our investors that we're going to launch in 3 months. So we spent 3 months building our product, testing it with customers, and when we were ready to launch, we realized we needed to get regulation, even though we had a banking partner. But those regulations didn't exist. What ensued was around 1.5 years of complicated regulation and complex discussions with the central bank. Ultimately, we launched, but that was a painful period of time.
The best experience serving the large retail market is the fact that there's so many merchants everywhere, and that the majority of consumers will go to these neighborhood merchants to access their daily goods. So just walking everywhere and seeing your customer is a good experience. What's challenging about that is the fact that because it's such a large market, it's highly competed and with very tiny margins. So you need to operate at a really large scale for you to get the gains out of serving that market.
One, it's very important to be mission focused from day one and to make sure that you don't stray from the mission. Recruiting solid team members, especially in the early days, co-founders and early team members, that's probably one of the most important things you can do in the first 5 years of the company, is just have the right people there at the beginning. And then the third thing is, I think as an entrepreneur, just generally, you have to kind of move away from criticism. And as long as you kind of quiet those voices and you focus on the voices that are telling you, actually, this is something good, which tend to be the voices of your customers, that can really push you through very challenging times.
The top 3 lessons I've learned in the fintech space are: 1, building trust. Financial services are all about trust. The second lesson I've learned in the financial service space, or being in fintech, is customer service. So we learned how to treat our customers exceptionally well, even though the legacy institutions didn't quite value them. The third lesson I've learned being in the fintech space is patience. Building something that people can trust, that people can enjoy, and that people can love is not something you can rush.
If you're building a business in Africa, you have to be ready to build everything from scratch, and I mean like everything. You have an idea of what you want, the problem you want to solve, how you want it to work. You'd better be ready to build all the underlying infrastructure. The second thing is, often when we start, we see this large total addressable market, and we start out on the journey to 1 million customers. But oftentimes, the journey to that 1 million customers is a process of experimentation. And so building small experiments to get to a certain milestone. Things on the continent turn very slowly. The wheels spin very slowly. And so you have to figure out how to survive until you are able to convert that opportunity.
Early on, you need to form very strategic partnerships with manufacturers, distributors across the value chain that enables you to negotiate and get the best value for products and the best margins, and that can enable you to win in the space. The second one is you need to conquer one city at a time, one region at a time, because it might look very interesting to have this whole market opportunity, but you need to win in one place at a time, get your unit economics right, get to profitability before you expand to other areas. Otherwise, the third lesson becomes you need to raise a lot of capital to operate in the retail tech space.
The best advice, so far looking back in hindsight I have received is really just do the hard things fast. Build the right foundations and everything else will come together.
On this journey, the most useful advice has been to find a really, really good team that complements your skill sets as a founder.
This mentor said, you're not in the finance game, you're not in the tech game, you're in the trust game. And that starts with how you conduct your company, your startup, the policies you have internally, how you handle your own dynamics as founders, and ultimately how you treat customers.
Honestly, one of the most useful pieces of advice was just do stuff. So stop, you can't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Eventually you have to just put something out into the world and see what people think of it, and then slowly iterate on that initial product.
People believed individuals in Africa are too poor to put aside any money. What assets are you going to manage? What are they going to save? What are they going to invest? And so, so that is a big myth, because people actually save. They just save and invest very differently. They save and invest in cars. They save and invest in actual assets. Sometimes even they save their money under the mattresses, to be honest. Yeah?
There's quite a lot of conversations about, fintechs are necessarily, trying to compete with banks, or we are really working towards becoming a bank. I don't think that's necessarily true. In fact, I think more than anything, banks should partner with fintechs to strengthen, financial inclusion at scale.
So I think one of the myths of fintech in Africa is that traditional financial institutions don't know what they're doing. Actually, I think they know what they're doing really well. I think there's a reason why they are incumbents and why they own the market. They figured out a formula that works within the constraints of regulation, of the customer dynamics, and they're able to capitalize on those constraints.
One of the biggest myths about the retail tech space is that merchants are super underserved. I feel like it's the opposite. Everyone wants to have the merchant, they're the darling. So there's so many companies that are looking for one way or the other to serve these merchants. That's not true. They're not underserved.
Do something you're passionate about. Make sure that whatever problem you're trying to solve through the use of technology is something that you want to be focused on for the next 10 years.
Don't build something that you have to rent. Build the entire infrastructure end to end. Build your own proprietary software, own the IP, and that becomes inherently valuable. Then build your services on top of that.
Anyone looking to build a fintech is really, really focused on strengthening the finance side of the business as well. get the right people to help you, get mentors, people who've done it before.
Fintech is really financial services and just automating some of those workflows. If you really want to get into fintech, it's really important to talk to people within those industries, talk to bankers, and understand their workflows, or even get into reading the guidelines and the rules and the regulations around these regulated services.
My favorite story of collaboration with one of the Harambeans is when I met, who's South African, I met at the Global Summit 2 years ago. We ended up becoming good friends, and over time I didn't realize that we'd form such a business connection as well. And when recently we decided to expand into South Africa, they've been at the forefront of giving us the right connection to partners, to potential customers, and to even hiring of staff in SA.
But I think, for me, I think the collaboration with my fellow Harambeans really has been knowledge sharing and getting to peer mentor each other during tough times like this when things are not going well.
I'd never been to Nigeria. I knew very, very, very few people in Nigeria, but I knew Harambeans. And the week I arrived there, I got invited for a brunch the very next day after I arrived. And that brunch had nearly everyone in the ecosystem that I needed to meet. And we were able subsequently to get into a conversation that resulted in an acquisition.
For me, being a Harambean is really all about, the basics, which is collaborating to build the Africa that we want, and working together. I've always wanted to be part of a network of African entrepreneurs building Africa, and that's what Harambean is.
Being a Harambean, to me, means waking up every day and fighting for a better Africa. To me, it means being relentless about the standards that we want for our continent and making sure that we're accepting nothing less than the best for our people on the continent.
Being a Harambean to me means taking on the responsibility that the Africa we want to see is going to be up to us. So it's daring to lead, it's daring to be bold and take on the big challenges that the continent is facing, because all those challenges are really opportunities.
This network for me has been that place to say, I can't do it by myself. I can't solve this problem by myself. How can I tap to other like-minded individuals who have also been through that path?